When H.G. Wells sat down to write the screenplay for Things to Come in 1936, he wasn't just crafting entertainment. He was issuing a warning that would prove disturbingly prescient. Wells authored the screenplay and remained closely involved in the adaptation, though the final film included contributions from director William Cameron Menzies and others. What emerged was a sweeping century-spanning narrative that began with a devastating global war breaking out in 1940, complete with aerial bombardments that would mirror the London Blitz with chilling accuracy. The film's monumental achievement lay not just in its prophetic storytelling, but in its revolutionary visual design. Some critics argue that Vincent Corda's sprawling, futuristic metropolis influenced many later sci-fi cityscapes, from Blade Runner's neon-soaked streets to Star Wars' gleaming spaceports. Critics have described these sets as architectural manifestos about humanity's technological destiny, arguably built on a scale that rivaled anything cinema had previously attempted. But Wells refused to settle for spectacle alone. While his contemporaries churned out pulp serials filled with ray guns and rubber monsters, Things to Come grappled with profound philosophical questions about progress versus humanity. The film posed uncomfortable queries about whether technological advancement would elevate or destroy civilization, themes that resonate with startling relevance in our age of artificial intelligence and global connectivity. The movie's structure itself was revolutionary, spanning generations to show how societies rise, fall, and rebuild. This wasn't just science fiction, it was social prophecy wrapped in cinematic grandeur. Wells understood that the future wouldn't arrive overnight but would unfold through decades of human struggle, technological breakthrough, and moral reckoning. Some argue his vision helped establish a tradition of epic storytelling that influenced later works, proving that the most powerful sci-fi doesn't just predict tomorrow's gadgets, it forecasts humanity's eternal dilemmas. This Island Earth burst onto screens in 1955 as a technicolor symphony of interstellar ambition, transforming the alien planet Metaluna into a visual masterpiece that still dazzles audiences. The film's three-strip Technicolor process didn't just add color, it created a new palette for science fiction, painting alien landscapes in vibrant crimsons and electric blues that made every frame feel truly otherworldly. Unlike other studios' cardboard sets, Universal Pictures invested in elaborate miniatures and matte paintings, bringing Metaluna's dying civilization to vivid life. The planet's crystalline structures and energy-domed cities established a visual language for space opera that many critics argue wouldn't be matched until Star Wars arrived 2 decades later. These weren't just alien worlds, they were fully realized civilizations with their own aesthetic. The film's narrative was equally groundbreaking, following scientists Cal Meacham and Ruth Adams as they're recruited by the mysterious Exeter for what seems a peaceful project. Film historians consider this structure, ordinary humans drawn into cosmic conflicts, a blueprint for countless space epics that followed. The journey from Earth to Metaluna, with interstellar warfare and planetary destruction, set storytelling beats that modern blockbusters still echo. Exeter, with his enlarged cranium and eloquent speech, was a radical departure from the bug-eyed monsters of 50s cinema. He embodied intelligence and tragic nobility, adding emotional weight to the film's spectacular destruction. Rumor has it that Mystery Science Theater 3000's 1996 mockery cemented the film's cult status, introducing new generations to its ambitious vision and proving that even parody couldn't diminish its pioneering achievements. Kronos stomped onto cinema screens in 1957 as something truly unprecedented, a colossal geometric nightmare that defied every monster movie convention. This was not a creature seeking conquest or revenge, but a methodical harvesting machine treating Earth's power infrastructure as a cosmic buffet, draining electrical plants with terrifying efficiency. The film's brilliance lay in making humanity's greatest strength, technological advancement, the very weapon of its potential destruction. Director Kurt Newman crafted a sharp allegory for Cold War anxieties, where the arms race and industrial expansion left civilization dependent on energy systems that could ultimately doom it. Kronos didn't need weapons or armies, it simply consumed what a modern society could not survive without. Visually, Kronos achieved remarkable results on a modest budget through clever practical effects that emphasized scale over spectacle. The towering robot's piston-driven legs and angular frame moved with mechanical precision across miniature landscapes, creating a sense of inexorable doom. Each thunderous step reinforced the machine's alien logic, pure function without malice or emotion. What made Kronos especially unsettling was its utter indifference to humanity. Unlike monsters that roared and raged, this geometric titan operated with the cold efficiency of industrial machinery, treating cities and power plants as mere resources. The abstract nature of this threat tapped into deeper fears about mechanization and humanity's shrinking relevance in an automated world. Many speculate that a modern remake could address contemporary anxieties about climate change, resource depletion, and our fragile dependence on power grids, transforming Kronos from a Cold War parable into a climate crisis prophecy that feels more urgent than ever. I Married a Monster from Outer Space arrived in 1958 with a title that promised B-movie schlock, but delivered a far more chilling psychological thriller. Director Gene Fowler Jr. crafted a film noir disguised as science fiction, where the true horror was not alien invasion, but the slow, terrifying realization that the person you love has become a stranger. The film's brilliance lay in anchoring its terror through Marge Farrell's perspective, played with mounting desperation by Gloria Talbot. As her husband Bill shifts from loving partner to a motionless replica, the audience feels every moment of her growing isolation and doubt. Marge is not a passive 50s housewife waiting for rescue. She is a woman forced to confront an unthinkable reality while those around her dismiss her fears as hysteria. What elevated the film beyond typical invasion paranoia was its exploration of suburban conformity as a kind of living death. The alien-possessed men didn't destroy society. They perfected it, becoming ideal husbands who performed expected roles but remained emotionally vacant. The film suggested that the real monsters might be the social pressures demanding such hollow performances. The aliens themselves carried tragic weight, revealed as survivors of a dying race whose women had perished, leaving them desperately seeking a way to continue their species. This moral complexity transformed the story from simple invasion horror into something more empathetic, questioning whether survival justifies such intimate deception. Many believe a modern remake could resonate deeply, exploring themes of gaslighting, emotional manipulation, and eroded trust within marriage, issues that feel especially relevant in today's conversations about psychological abuse. The Angry Red Planet unleashed something unprecedented in 1959, a visual fever dream that transformed Mars into a psychedelic nightmare through the revolutionary cinemagic process. This wasn't just another alien world, it was an entire planet filtered through a crimson lens that made every frame pulse with otherworldly menace, combining live-action footage with animated elements to create a disorienting landscape that felt genuinely alien. Director Ib Melchior and his team achieved this hallucinogenic effect by layering traditional cinematography with hand-drawn animation, then bathing everything in that signature monochromatic red filter. The result was a Mars that seemed to breathe with malevolent life, where familiar shapes twisted into threatening forms and the very atmosphere appeared hostile to human presence. No other film has successfully replicated this specific visual approach, making The Angry Red Planet a singular experiment in cinematic surrealism. The creatures inhabiting this crimson world became instant icons of pulp horror, particularly the infamous bat rat spider crab, a chimeric monstrosity that defied biological logic while somehow feeling perfectly at home in this alien ecosystem. The giant amoeba with its spinning eye added another layer of abstract terror, proving that the most effective monsters often emerge from the realm of pure imagination rather than earthly biology. While the story followed a familiar expedition gone wrong template, the cinemagic technique elevated it far beyond standard B-movie territory into something approaching surrealist art. The film's visual audacity transformed simple scenes of astronauts exploring alien terrain into sequences that felt like walking through a living painting. Insiders whisper that modern filmmakers could harness cutting-edge visual effects to recreate cinemagic's spirit for contemporary audiences, potentially crafting a Mars that honors the original's bold aesthetic while pushing the boundaries of what alien worlds can look like on screen. Village of the Damned transformed childhood innocence into pure terror in 1960, crafting a horror classic that needed only pale children with glowing eyes to unsettle audiences. Based on John Wyndham's The Midwich Cuckoos, director Wolf Rilla understood that the most effective monsters often wore the faces of those society instinctively protects, turning parental love into a weapon of psychological destruction. The film's genius lay in restraint, building dread through the children's unnaturally calm demeanor and collective intelligence rather than gore or jump scares. These were not typical monsters. They spoke in measured tones, moved in eerie unison, and displayed a chilling unity that hinted at something fundamentally inhuman behind their angelic faces. Their politeness became menacing, each courteous response laced with barely contained power. The iconic glowing eye effect, achieved through simple post-production, turned the children's eyes into white-hot negatives that seemed to burn through the screen. This optical trick proved that the true terror needed only the right visual metaphor, and those luminous stares became a lasting symbol of otherworldly menace, influencing decades of supernatural cinema. What made the film especially disturbing was its weaponization of anxieties about conformity and control. The children embodied the nightmare of uniformity, a generation thinking and acting as one while appearing individual. Their hive mind consciousness suggested a future where individuality was quietly erased. Despite a forgettable 1995 remake, many believe a modern adaptation could explore the novel's deeper themes of evolutionary conflict and hive mind identity, offering a chilling meditation on humanity during an age of growing technological connectivity. The Last Man on Earth emerged in 1964 as the most haunting and faithful adaptation of Richard Matheson's I Am Legend, with Vincent Price delivering a career-defining performance that captured the soul-crushing weight of absolute solitude. Unlike later blockbuster versions that diluted the source material with action and hopeful endings, this Italian-American co-production preserved the novel's devastating psychological core through Price's portrayal of Robert Morgan's daily survival. Filmed on location in Rome, the authentically desolate cityscapes, from ancient cobblestone streets to modern apartment blocks, created a gothic atmosphere where civilization's remnants became tombstones for humanity. Price reportedly wandered these empty locations between takes, absorbing the isolation that shaped his nuanced performance of a man slowly losing his grip on sanity. The film's infected creatures moved with a shambling, relentless hunger that would prove revolutionary for horror cinema. George Romero later borrowed their slow, plague-driven behavior for Night of the Living Dead, transforming Matheson's vampiric ghouls into the modern zombie archetype. This direct lineage makes The Last Man on Earth a foundational text of contemporary horror, bridging classic monster movies with the undead hordes that would dominate the genre. Crucially, the film retained Matheson's brutal finale, the revelation that Morgan himself had become the monster in the eyes of the evolved infected. Where later adaptations softened or abandoned this twist, Price's version delivered the novel's devastating punch. Survival does not guarantee heroism, and the last man standing might be the true villain. Recent 4K restorations highlight Price's subtle, tormented performance, revealing new depths in his portrayal. Robinson Crusoe on Mars blazed onto screens in 1964 with an audacious promise. This would be science fact, not science fiction. Director Byron Haskin worked with NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory to ground survival details in real space research, resulting in what many critics consider one of the most scientifically plausible Mars adventures of its era. The film's sequences show astronaut Kit Draper's methodical quest for oxygen, water, and food, each challenge solved through ingenuity rather than Hollywood magic. Death Valley's scorching landscapes became the Martian surface, with Haskin's Technicolor cinematography transforming the desert into an alien world that felt both beautiful and brutally hostile. The film's widescreen vistas emphasized Draper's crushing isolation against Mars' vast emptiness, making every frame a meditation on human fragility in the face of cosmic indifference. These sweeping shots made audiences genuinely believe they were watching a man struggle for survival on another planet. The introduction of Mona, a woolly monkey companion, brought unexpected warmth and reflected real space program animal testing. Later, the arrival of Friday, an escaped alien slave, complicated the survival story, introducing themes of communication, trust, and colonialism that elevated the film beyond simple adventure. What set Robinson Crusoe on Mars, apart from typical space opera, was his relentless focus on problem solving. Draper didn't battle monsters. He fought dehydration, oxygen depletion, and the psychological toll of isolation. Many critics see the film's methodical approach as prophetic, with some suggesting it inspired Andy Weir's The Martian. A modern remake could update the science while preserving the original's core emphasis on human resourcefulness. Seconds shattered the glossy veneer of American prosperity in 1966 with a nightmarish vision that made audiences question everything they believed about success, happiness, and the pursuit of dreams. Director John Frankenheimer and legendary cinematographer James Wong Howe crafted a visual assault on conventional filmmaking, employing fisheye lenses that warped reality into funhouse mirror distortions and jarring camera angles that left viewers feeling perpetually off balance and paranoid. Rock Hudson's casting proved nothing short of revolutionary. The matinee idol, synonymous with romantic comedies, delivered a raw, stripped-down performance as Arthur Hamilton, a middle-aged businessman who trades his mundane existence for a surgically altered new identity. Hudson's willingness to abandon his carefully cultivated image for this deeply unsettling role demonstrated remarkable artistic courage, transforming his familiar screen presence into something genuinely disturbing and vulnerable. Howe's experimental cinematography became the film's secret weapon, using extreme close-ups and disorienting wide-angle shots to create a palpable sense of psychological collapse. The visual techniques weren't merely stylistic flourishes, they served as direct extensions of Hamilton's fractured mental state, making audiences experience his growing realization that his supposed second chance had become an inescapable prison of corporate manipulation. The film's brutal critique of 1960s conformity and consumer culture proved too radical for contemporary audiences, bombing spectacularly at its Cannes Film Festival premiere. Critics dismissed it as pretentious and incomprehensible, failing to recognize its prescient warnings about identity commodification and the hollow promises of material success. Decades later, Seconds has undergone complete critical rehabilitation, with film scholars recognizing its themes as eerily prophetic of social media culture and curated online identities. The Criterion Collection's restoration has introduced the film to new generations who find its exploration of manufactured personas and corporate-controlled happiness disturbingly relevant to contemporary digital existence. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like and comment. Also consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell to get notified of our new videos each week. Thanks for watching.